Yeah. From the first word spoken to the last amen. Look, day one, I believe in the Father, maker of the heavens and the holler. Seen things unseen in the silence, whole world in his hands, that's balance. Light, land, oceans in order, skylines stretch past borders. Every breath, every law that's written came from the mind that isn't limited by minutes or distant. Feminine wisdom, perfect existence, one throne, no rival in the system. Alpha in the code, I listen. We believe, say it out loud. One God, one Son, one Spirit in the crowd. From the throne to the grave, then he rose in three. Whole church stand up, this is our creed. We believe, heart on sleeve. Every line in my soul like ink that bleeds. From the first I believe to the last, amen. That's the truth we stand on. Say it again. Only one sin, true God, true flesh, that's intent. Born from a woman, promised in the womb, royal in the manger, glory in the gloom. Walked dust, felt hunger in the heat, love wore sandals in the street. Spoke life, storm, heard wind, froze, touch of his hand, blind eyes rose. For I say, took the blame, that's sentence. Cross on his back, that's penance. Laid in the grave, don't shut, dark deep, third day, sun up, death fell asleep. Woo! Lifted up, backseated with the Father, all things under him, why bother? Running from grace when the gate wide, he'll come blazing, judge day, no size. We believe, hey. Say it out loud. One God, one Son, one Spirit in the crowd. From the throne to the grave, then he rose in three. Whole church stand up, this is our creed. We believe, heart on sleeve. Every line in my soul like ink that bleeds. From the first I believe to the last, amen. That's the truth we stand on. Say it again. I believe in the Spirit, breathe in the lungs. Fire in the room when the praise gets sung. Oh yeah. Prophets writes on us, holy, sets us apart. One church, one hope, one birth. Forgiveness reigning on this earth. Grace gonna crack when he calls our names. New life, new body, no shame. We believe, say it out loud. One God, one Son, one Spirit in the crowd. From the throne to the grave, then he rose in three. Whole church stand up, this is our creed. We believe, heart on sleeve. Every line in my soul like ink that bleeds. From the first I believe to the last, amen. That's the truth we stand on. Say it again.
Welcome to the Called to Defend live stream, where only straight members are allowed. I am Caleb Elliott, and as you can see, I am the only member of Called to Defend here. So, what does that tell you? Welcome. Last stream of the holiest month, that being the liturgical month of Pride Month. That is, of course, liturgical for the world. And how it celebrates it. Sorry, you need your milk. Makes the bones strong. Does the body good. This was kind of a mess to cobble together. I won't lie to you. But we're here, and that's what matters. And you're here in my heart, and that's what matters. I think for the first time, I just realized that since the camera is flipped, Called to Defend is backwards for y'all. Or does it appear normal for y'all and backwards for me? I don't know how technology works. Listen, I'm good at my job, okay? I managed to get, sorry, do not disturb. There we go. So I can't hear Josh whining at me about the thumbnail. I managed to somehow, some way, despite my status as a caveman, cobble together an effective thumbnail. By effective, I mean it tells you what the stream is about, and it calls Josh gay, which are the two most important things. So I managed to get together an effective thumbnail. I don't care if it pulls in views. I got to call Josh gay. That's all that matters. I got an effective thumbnail. I even titled the stream. I even got it to properly go through StreamYard, which is actually the first time I've been able to do that for both Called to Defend Regular and Apologia. So I'm clicking on all cylinders. Now, all of that happened within the last 20 minutes. And if I'm being real, I'm still not 100% sure it's working. It tells me it's working, but I am not only just a caveman, I am also a Luddite. So I have this deep and abiding disdain for the thing that allows me to yap at your faces. Anyways, as people continue coming in, we are going to be discussing homosexuality and the Bible, which I'm sure will be an uncontroversial topic. The stream will be completely normal, and there will be no hostilities. No one will yell at me. We will all sing Kumbaya, and we will just have a dandy old time. Not too dandy, though, and not dandy in that way. Be prepared for a lot of gay jokes. I'm going to warn you right now. Be prepared for more gay jokes than you thought you were going to get. But yeah, so we are going to be discussing, does the Bible either promote or even just allow for homosexuality, right? Same-sex relationships, Pride Month, LGBTQ stuff, anything like that. Does the Bible allow for it? No. All right, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Enjoy it now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell. No. We are going to obviously get away from the ad. Sorry, I'm still pulling things up. This was a very, very last minute dead sprint to the finish line. Words. So yeah, this was a very much last minute. Oh crap, I have to do it all myself because Josh is off visiting his girlfriend, who for some reason is not his fiance yet because he's a coward. Dude, come on. You've been dating her for what? More than 5 minutes? Why does she not have a ring on her finger? Let's go. Come on. Get to it. Chop, chop. Right? Otherwise, I'm going to make more thumbnails calling you gay. I'm going to finish my milk. Jug of life. Oh, there's the back. Okay. Yeah, so it is just me tonight. Try not to be too disappointed. Try to actually stick around for a couple of minutes. You might learn something. But no, we are on the case of it being Pride Month, or it is the case of it being Pride Month. There's the rainbow for the SpongeBob imagination meme. And we are going to be looking at a few passages, kind of the go-tos for the Bible and homosexuality, right? So we're not doing anything crazy tonight. It'll probably be a shorter stream just because I have nobody to actually call gay while they are here in the stream, and that's just not as much fun. So I don't really want to hang around if I can't call people gay. There's really no fun in that. And then more importantly, I'm still very much suffering from the pinched nerve in my back, and sitting up for an hour and a half just is not an appealing process or prospect. It's not something that I really want to do. So I'm not gonna, excuse me. So let's do this. Let's start off with probably like the one, right? Like, go away, Abraham Lincoln holding bread. That was an ad, by the way. And you know what? I should have just left it in the dark and left it ambiguous. And we're going to be starting off in like the go-to passage here, which is Leviticus 18. And most people will just go right to verse 22. Understandable, as that's the one that, right? This is in a list of commands, which God has ordained. And he lays out the following, right? So we get Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination, right? And now that seems pretty cut and dry, right? God saying men shouldn't lie with men, right? This is addressed to the men of Israel. And so, right, he's not telling the woman not to lie with a man, because, you know, then the species would die, and that would suck. But he's talking to men. He's delivering this to the men of Israel and saying, hey, you know, don't sleep with a man as you would with a woman, right? Pretty straightforward. So how do modern proponents of LGBTQ ideology within the church, asterisk, how do they propose this, or how do they reconcile this with their philosophy? Right, well, they'll go about it a couple of different ways. One, they will state that this no longer applies. It's a part of the old covenant. Now it's free reign, right? Dudes can do it with dudes, and we're all good there. And then the other reasoning they will use is they'll say, well, this is about children, right? Saying you shall not lie with a male child as with a woman. It is an abomination, right? So it's saying don't do pederasty, right? That's what that's called. So these objections, or at least attempts to reconcile, both fail, right? And these are the only two that I've heard. There may be others. I have not heard them. I can only argue against what I have heard. But these both fail pretty badly, honestly. Right, so just like a little bit of context kind of knocks out both, but even more so than context, if you just think about it for 30 seconds, not even, probably like 15 seconds, be like, hang on, that doesn't work because of this, and that doesn't work because of that. But let's start with the context approach. And so we're going to be starting at the kind of top of this section, which is all the way up here in verse 6. Excuse me. So this is God beginning to talk about sexual ethics to the nation of Israel, right? To the men of Israel specifically. And so here is where we're going to see like the breakdown of it's the old covenant argument. Because if it's just the old covenant, then the entirety of Leviticus 18 has to be just the old covenant, right? You can't just take one verse and say only that is the old covenant, but the rest still applies. So let's go ahead and read from verse 6, and might stop as we go. I don't know yet. We'll just kind of see. I might give a thought and then keep reading. Whatever. All right, Leviticus chapter 18, verse 6. None of you shall approach anyone who is near of kin to him to uncover his nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of your father or the nakedness of your mother you shall not uncover. She is your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife you shall not uncover. It is your father's nakedness. The nakedness of your sister, the daughter of your father or the daughter of your mother, whether born at home or elsewhere, is the nakedness you shall not uncover. The nakedness of your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter, their nakedness you shall not uncover, for theirs is your own nakedness. And the nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, begotten by your father, she is your sister. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She is near of kin to your father. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she is near of kin to your mother. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. You shall not approach his wife. She is your aunt. You shall not uncover, the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, nor shall you take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are near of kin to her. It is wickedness. Nor shall you take a woman as a rival to her sister to uncover her nakedness while the other is alive. So a whole lot of not uncovering nakedness there. What does that mean? Basically, what that's saying is don't commit incest. Right? That's God's commandment. Do not commit incest. It is shameful. It is disgusting. It is wrong. You should not be committing incest. Furthermore, we get a little nod to Jacob here when he says, nor shall you take a woman as a rival to her sister to uncover her nakedness while the other is still alive. Gee, who did that? Right? I mean, the whole shebang, as you're about to see, actually, God willing, in our LDS video, which should be coming out soon, just summarizing everything from the LDS. Since, well, you'll get it in the video, but polygamy doesn't end well, and particularly not between sisters. It does not end well. So God here is saying, hey, just don't do it. Don't commit incest. Don't marry sisters while one is still alive. Just don't be weird, basically. So that's the context of here, right? So if we're going to say that this is purely just old covenant, that means by the logic that they're using to try and get rid of Leviticus 18:22, with it just being old covenant, apparently incest is exclusive to the old covenant and incest is okay now, right? That's the argument that they have to make, which if that's the argument they want to go with, gross. I don't think you actually believe that, but I guess you can make that argument. What you cannot make is the argument with the context immediately prior to 22, right? That immediately is following what we were just looking at. So let's go ahead and keep reading. I will pick right back up here at verse 19. Quote, also, you shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is in her customary impurity, right? It's her menstrual period. Moreover, you shall not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife to defile yourself with her. And you shall not let any of your descendants pass through the fire to Molech, nor shall you profane the name of the Lord your God. I am the Lord. And then we get, you shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. So right here, the verses leading up, you get, don't sleep with a woman on her menstrual period, which is just generally a good cleanliness thing. Just for the both of you, it can cause some health risks. That mixing of the fluids can be kind of dangerous. It's probably not comfortable for her. It's just not a good thing to do necessarily. But then we get something that's a little more outright sinful, right? We get the, you shall not lie carnally. Now it's interesting to say lie carnally with your neighbor's wife, right? So it's saying, it's not so much that you can't be in the same house as her or anything like that, or even necessarily sleep in the same house as her. Don't have sex with her, right? Don't sleep with your neighbor's wife is essentially what it's saying. And then you get something that is very, very damning for the argument that this is purely old covenant. Verse 21, and you shall not let any of your descendants pass through the fire to Molech, nor shall you profane the name of your God. I am the Lord, right? So this is God saying, do not sacrifice your children to pagan gods. Now, if we're going to go with the idea that Leviticus 18:22 is purely a part of the Old Covenant, then we have to say that Leviticus 18:21 is purely a part of the Old Covenant. Therefore, it's okay now, apparently, to sacrifice your children to Molech. I don't think that the church today, in any facet, no matter what you believe, would agree with that. Furthermore, nor shall you profane the name of your God, right? So the passing through the fire is a profanity to the name of God, but also just in general, you shall not profane the name of your God. If we're going with the logic laid out by those who support the LGBTQ ideology within the church, as in this is an old covenant law, then we have to say that profaning the name of God is okay today. I don't see how that could possibly be. I think the Bible is very explicit. You shall not profane the name of the Lord your God, right? It's one of the 10 commandments. Right? Do not use the name of the Lord God in vain. But it gets even worse, right? So then we get, well, I mean, I'm not sure that it can get worse than child sacrifice, but I'm saying it gets worse for their argument because it keeps building, right? So then we get to verse 22, you shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Nor shall you mate with any animal to defile yourself with it, nor shall any woman stand before an animal to mate with it. It is perversion. And then it goes on, he goes on to say, do not defile yourselves with any of these things, for by all these things the nations are defiled, which I am casting out before you. And then he goes on to elaborate on that a little bit more. But we basically just read the section regarding sexual ethics within Leviticus 18. Nothing in there indicates any change post establishment of the new covenant, right? So the argument that this is just old covenant theology does not work, right? It's more than just the old covenant. It is moral law for all time, right? All people are held to this law, regardless of what culture, regardless of who you are. We all have this internal natural inkling to do the right thing, and that includes sexually. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, this is not exclusive to the old covenant. That's just really bad argumentation. Unless you're going to argue that bestiality is allowed, in which case we strongly disagree. We very strongly disagree. I do not want bestiality anywhere near my Christianity, thank you. And neither does the Bible. Okay, so old covenant argument doesn't work. But what about the argument that this means a child? Well, is there anything in the context to indicate that? Not really. Right, what I've heard people say is that since verse 21 refers to children, right, of your descendants, those are children, passed through the fire to Molech. That's how children were sacrificed in the ancient Near East. They would be burned. It's actually horrific and gruesome. They would create a statue of their god. They would put a fire at the base of the statue, and then place the infant into the arms of the statue. And as the arms got hotter and began to burn the infant would roll and twist and try to get away, and then it would fall into the fire, trying to get away from the burning metal. I can't begin to think about that. Pardon me. Sorry. So they will say that verse means that this is talking about children. Now, the bigger problem here is nothing else in the passage regarding sexual ethics. Nothing in the passage regarding sexual ethics has any sort of indication regarding children, right? I mean, this is all just about sleeping with a woman. There's no indication that the women are not of age. And then we are still talking about sleeping with, and then this one is actually related, people don't realize, to sexual ethics. It is. Pardon me. Wow. It because children are the product of sex, right? When you have sex, you are potentially going to have children. I don't like the risk language that a lot of people use. They'll say, well, you're risking pregnancy. Pregnancy is not a risk, it's a blessing. Right? It may not feel like it, I'll grant you that. Right? To any women watching, I understand that pregnancy may not feel like it at the time, but really it is one of the most beautiful, amazing, wonderful things, right? You are growing another human being in your body. That is incredible. That's a superpower. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Right? So pregnancy, again, it may not feel like it in that moment, but looking back, right? I mean, my wife has never looked more beautiful than when she was pregnant. Right? And obviously she looks more and more beautiful by the day, but the point is, right, like just see her nurturing and caring for our child was gorgeous, right? I mean, I've never been more just in love with her than when she was pregnant with our child. Especially my wife is pretty thin, so she really showed towards the end of the pregnancy. And she's just beautiful, just stunning. To just see her carrying our child, it's incredible. But anyways, so this does have to do with sexual ethics. But the actual act of sexual ethics, right, namely, sex, which, as Norm Macdonald said, is a filthy, shameful thing, clearly only meant for procreation. Can you tell I like Norm Macdonald? Great comedian. Would not watch any of his stuff on this channel because he's not exactly always the most clean. But if you don't mind a little bit of dirty comedy, Norm is a great comedian, probably the best. More to the point, though, in terms of the actual act of that, shameful, filthy thing only meant for procreation, verse 21 is different, right? It doesn't actually talk about the act. Every other verse does, and there's nothing in there to indicate that it's like underage sex in any way. I mean, but even more than that, we don't just have to look at the English for it, right? So we have here the Septuagint, right? The Greek Septuagint. If you've been around the channel, I'm the Greek guy. Our Hebrew guy is currently off with his should be by now fiance, but he's too much of a whiny little, probably shouldn't say that word on stream, coward. What's another word for coward? I got nothing. I have a couple of words that, again, I don't think Josh would be happy if I said on a live stream. So I'll spare it. But I guess I'll stick with coward for now. But we can look at the Septuagint since I am the Greek guy. And I went ahead and highlighted the word arsenes. Or excuse me, in this case, actually, it's arsenos. Arsenos. As you have kaimete arsenos u koimete se, oh my goodness, koimete se koiten gunaiken. Which, fun fact, this word is where we get gynecology, and it is the Greek word for female or woman, usually just woman. And this is the Greek word for male, arsenos. So basically what it's saying is, and you will, or you shall not, or will not, with a man, right? So with a man, and with a man, not you shall lay in bed with a woman, and not with a man as a woman, right? So And then it says it is an abomination. This is an abomination, is what this says. This is an abomination. And then, oh, yeah. Well, that's true. Actually, it should be 4. Excuse me. That's correct. It should be 4 because you have God there. And then you have the verse over here in English. And thou shalt not lie with a man as with a woman, for it is an abomination. Again, this direct word would be and with man, not lie with in bed, a woman, like as a woman. Oh, I broke it. Okay. As a woman, abomination, for it is. Right? So it's pretty cut and dry, right? And so arsenos there usually means male, but it can also be man. Usually for man, you would use anthropos, but that depends on the context, actually. It's talking about mankind, but it may also just be man. You can also see andres used for man, and that tends to be the more personal one, right? Like that man would be andres or andros or whatever. But then here we have arsenos, excuse me, which means male, right? Male, as in XY chromosome, has a beard, chiseled, dark hair, glasses, wearing an epic shirt that you can find on our merch store, link found in the description below. A real man, right? Kind of like that. Exactly what I described. That's a real man. Right? That's what arsenos is kind of getting across. And so there, the Greek is pretty clear, right? The Septuagint authors, at the very least, understood this to mean don't have sex with men, right? Men do not have sex with men. It's an abomination, right? That's what they took that to mean. And so, but don't just take my word for it, right? Let's do some of the research. So we have here 2 versions of the same word. We have aren, which means male or man. And then you also have, as we just talked about, arsen, as in male or man, right? So then we have the different uses of it, right? You have arsen, which we just looked at, and that's Matthew 19, which we will also be looking at. And that's where Christ says, and he made them male and female, right? You've heard it from the beginning. He made them male and female. And then Mark 10:6 is the exact same thing, same context. Luke chapter 2. We can go to Luke chapter 2:23 and see what we're working with here. So, as it has been written in the law of the Lord, every male opening a womb holy to the Lord shall be called, or he shall be called holy to the Lord. Right? So again, we're getting the idea of man, male. The infamous Romans 1 passage, you have man, male. Galatians 3:28 saying there's neither male nor female. Right? Now, I will say Revelation does have arsen as a male child. Right? So, okay, maybe there is the idea here of a male child, right? Revelation 12, maybe that's the same way that the Greek is using it in the Septuagint, rather, right? Like maybe they're using it to say, don't sleep with a male child. So, all right, the Greek gives us an indication, but it's not a guarantee. So let's look at the Hebrew now. And I do need the interlinear for the Hebrew because I do not know Hebrew. And it says, and with a male you shall not lie. And with a male not you shall lie the lyings of a woman, an abomination it is. Putting aside the Yoda speak for a second. What does that mean, right? So let's go to the concordance here for Zakar. Again, you get who created him, male and female. That would be man, with the first Who's the first man? Adam. Adam is a full-grown man. Adam is not a child, right? So Zakar, we see male and female, male and female, male and female, right? Male and female. The idea here is two sexually compatible creatures, right? Every male among you shall be circumcised. It's the establishment of the circumcision covenant. That's for every man, right? And now again, you get Genesis 17. You get every male among you, and the KJV translates it as male or a man child. However, the Hebrew doesn't say man child, right? Unlike how the Greek says it in Revelation, it doesn't say man child, it just says male, right? Circumcised, and every male in your generations, uncircumcised male, right? So it just, again, it's in this context of male, like there's male and female, two creatures who are sexually compatible. Right? That's where you're getting this idea of male from. Right? And so again, they put in brackets male child, but they have to put child in the brackets because it doesn't say that. So the point that I'm getting at here is that the child argument does not work. Right? There is nothing in the text that says this is about children, about sleeping with children. That just isn't there. Right? The Septuagint authors didn't consider it that way because they did not include child in the text, and the Hebrew authors did not consider it that way because they did not include the word child in the text. Right? Like right here, 1822, you shall not lie with a male as one lies, right? They didn't say male child. They did clarify children in the previous verse. They do not clarify children here. And if we're going to say that male continual or contextually applies to children, you have to prove that from the context, of which the context disagrees with you, because it talks about sexual relationships with adults. The only reference to children is saying don't kill your children. And yes, it's, as I mentioned, it's in that context of sexual ethics, but it isn't talking about having sex with them. It's saying the children who you produce through these acts of sex should not be killed. And then it says, don't sleep with a man as with a woman, right? You, men, who I am commanding this to, do not go and sleep with men. So that's Leviticus 18. But what about the equally infamous Romans 1? Right, Romans 1. Verse starting in chapter 24. I'll read the English and then we'll go over the Greek. Therefore, God gave them over in their sinful desires and the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. Now, this is a passage that gets debated simply because people want to assert their ideas onto the text. Truthfully, that really is just what it is. When I first read this, I was like, oh, okay, so don't be gay, right? Like that's kind of what it's saying, right? Pretty straightforward. It's sinful to have sexual relations with members of the same sex. Okay, gotcha. You then get this debate, however, of what exactly does it mean when it says men, right? So sometimes people will try to say, well, this is just purely about non-consensual sex, right? This is about rape. This is about one man raping another. It's saying don't do that. And then you get the other, which says that, well, no, we're still talking about pederasty here, right? We haven't changed that. We're still just condemning pederasty, but homosexuality between two men is fine, right? Or two women is fine, right? Like two consenting adults is fine. the Bible has nothing to say about that. And it's like, well, that's not really what Paul says. Right? So Paul uses the word that we are familiar with now, arsenes, right? Right, there you have it again, arsenes, and then you have arsenes and arsesin, arsesin, right? Same word, different form, right? So here you have it in the nominative, meaning it is the subject. Then you have ein, which can mean in or with, and then you have arsesin, which is the accusative, meaning this is the object, right? So this is the same word. That is very, very important, right? So let's address the pederasty argument first. The pederasty argument states that this is saying men having sex with children, right? Men with children. If that's the case, then Paul has to use a different word there, because you are going to get either man with man or child with child. Never man with child, right? So either it's not talking about pederasty and it's just children being disgusting and degenerate, or it's exactly what the text says, which is man with man, right? He's using the same word. The word does not change outside of who it is, right? So in the one case, it's the man, and in the second case, it's the man that's being done with, right? It's in both cases men. That's just what the Greek means. Arsenes ein arsesin. Man with man, same word. The only difference is subject versus object. That doesn't change the actual meaning of the word so much as it changes the sentence structure. Right? It's just telling you who's doing what with what. Oh. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm trying my best, dog. Leave me alone. For those just listening, the comment just says this might be the gayest stream you've ever done. Come on, man. Josh isn't even here, dog. It can't be the gayest one we've done. Josh isn't here. All right. More to the point, other than me just getting frickin' roasted for no reason. It cannot be about pederasty, right? So this also kind of plays back into the passage that we were just looking at, right? Of like, why is it not pederasty? Paul is using the exact same language that the Septuagint authors are using to condemn male with male, men with men, man with man. Like whatever word you want to put there, it's not about children. This is clearly talking about man, adult man with adult man. Right? But what about rape? What about rape, right? Like, is this just talking about rape, but consensual sex is fine? Excuse me. Well, for that, we don't even need to leave the verse, right? So verse 27, in the same way, men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. For one another. Right? So that's saying that both parties are participating here. Right? This is consensual between both parties because it's lust for one another. If I have desire for my wife and she has desire for me, we have desire for one another. And through that, consent is established. And that's what Paul is saying. They have lust for one another. Ergo, this is consensual. Both men are choosing to do this. This is not about rape. Right? Like, this is like an immediate and easy debunk. I would be remiss to not include one thing from the church fathers, just to show that this is not a new idea, right? Some people will try to say, and we'll talk about it in just a second, they will try to say that homosexuality, or the word homosexual, is a new addition, right? It's a new addition to the Bible. It was only added in the 20th century, and we don't actually have anything. We don't actually have, rather, the idea of homosexuality in the Bible. And so, excuse me, along those lines, let's look at what one of the church fathers said, right? So this is John Chrysostom's homily on Romans. And this is regarding Romans 1, chapter 26, or excuse me, Romans chapter 1, verse 26 and 27, right? The things we just read. And he even quotes it. For this cause, God gave them up to vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust towards one another, right? And it doesn't even quote the full verse there, right? Because we were just looking at the full verse. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So this is now reading what John Chrysostom, who is writing much closer, obviously, to the apostles than we are. He's writing in Greek. And this is what he believes regarding this passage. Excuse me. He says, all of these affections then were vile, but chiefly the mad lust after males, for the soul is more the sufferer in sins and more dishonored than the body in diseases. But behold, how hereto, as in the case of doctrines, he deprives them of excuse, saying of the woman that they changed the natural use. For no one, he means, can say that it was by being hindered of legitimate intercourse that this came to pass, or that it was from having no means to fulfill their desire that they were driven to this monstrous insanity. Right? So he's saying it's not like they couldn't go and sleep with men. That was a plentifully available option to them. They're just choosing not to. They are choosing to engage in something unnatural and sinful. Hang on, let me make sure I hit the right button there. There we go. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Starting back up here. For the changing implies possession. Let me zoom in so y'all can see a little better. Huh? There we go. Can y'all see that better? No? Yes. Okay. If I can see it, you can see it, because my eyes are horrible. There we are. So, for the changing implies possession, which, when also discoursing upon the doctrines, he said they changed the truth of God for a lie. And with this regard to the men again, he shows the same thing by saying, leaving the natural use of the women, or of the woman, excuse me. And in a like way, these he puts out of all meaning, or of all means of defending themselves, by charging them not only that they had means of gratification, that being the women, excuse me, and left that which they had and went after one another, but that having dishonored that which is natural, they ran after which was contrary to nature, excuse me. But that which is contrary to nature has in it an irksomeness and displeasingness, so that they could not fairly allege even pleasure. For genuine pleasure is that which is according to nature. But when God has left one, then all things are turned upside down. And this was not only their doctrine, satanical, and thus not only was their doctrine satanical, but their life too was diabolical. Now, when he was discoursing all of their doctrines, he put before them the world and man's understanding, telling them that by judgment afforded them by God, they might, through the things which are seen, have been led to the hand, as by the hand to the Creator, and then by not willing to do so, they remained inexcusable. Here in the place of the world, he sets the pleasure according to nature, which they would have enjoyed with more sense of security and greater glad-heartedness, and so far been removed from the shameful deeds. But they would not, whence they are quite out of the pale of pardon, and have done an insult to nature itself. And yet a more disgraceful thing, than these is it, when even the women seek after these intercourses, who ought to have more sense of shame than men. Basically what that means is, like, women tend to be more modest, tend to be more upright, tend to be more upstanding than men, who generally are not as, shall we say, tempered in their sexual desires. And here too, the judgment of Paul is worthy of admiration. How having fallen upon the two opposite matters, he accomplishes them both with all exactness. For he wished both to speak chastely and to sting the hearer. Oh my goodness. Now both these things were not in his power to do so, but one hindered the other. For if you speak chastely, you shall not be able to hear. Oh my goodness. For if you speak chastely, you shall not be able to bear hard upon the hearer. But if you are minded to touch him to the quick, you are forced to lay the naked facts before him in plain terms. I wonder if that's a pun or if a play on words or not. But his discreet and holy soul was able to do both with exactness, and by naming nature has as once given an additional force to his accusation, and also used this as a sort of veil to keep the chasteness of his description. And next, having reproached the women first, he goes on to the men and says, and likewise, also the men leaving the natural use of the woman, which is an evident proof of the last degree of corruptness, when both sexes are abandoned, and both that he was ordained to be the instructor of the woman, and she who was bid to become a helpmate to the man, work the deeds of enemies against one another. And reflect too how significantly he uses his words. For he did not say they were enamored of and lusted after one another, but they burned in their lust toward one another. And that's the big point, right? That's kind of the big point here. He goes on, you see that the whole of desire comes from an exorbitancy which endures not to abide within its proper limits. For everything which transgresses the laws by God appointed lusts after monstrous things, and not those which be customary. Right, so he's appealing back to Leviticus. Right, and he goes on for some time, continuing on, but we don't need to read the whole thing now. So the point that he's making there is that what they are doing is fully unnatural. They know that they could gratify their needs in natural ways, but they're not. Right? He is in no way considering this to be an example of pederasty. Right? And this is John Chrysostom, right? This is a guy that's writing a lot closer to the early church than we are. Right? Like, when is John Chrysostom life? Google. Born in 347. Right, so he is within 300 years of Paul writing this. That's very early, especially compared to today, where we are 2,000 years almost after Paul is writing this. John Chrysostom is much, much closer, and he is showing that the understanding has always been that homosexuality is a no-go. Right? But he appeals a lot to nature. Right? Why does he do that? Well, because of what Paul's actual claim is here. And so if we go all the way back up to the beginning portion of Romans 1 here, not that far. Where are we? I don't think I want to start all the way up there. This is the professionalism that you've come to know and love. I know it. I know. Nothing but the best here, called to defend. I guess we can start at verse 18. I thought I would start a little higher, but I think we can just start at verse 18. So this is why Chrysostom is pointing to what he is. Right? So picking up in verse 18, we have, the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of people who suppress the truth by their wickedness, not surpass. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what people have, or from what has been, so that people are without excuse. Right? You heard John Chrysostom talk about that quite a bit, right? Saying that they have no reason to do this, they are without excuse, and he makes the point that Paul is saying they are without excuse. That's what he's referring to. And it says, although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal human beings and birds and animals and reptiles. Right. And so then it goes on to say, that God gives them over and they begin to commit shameful acts. Right, so kind of skipping over what we read, we keep going, picking up at verse 28. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. Paul never pulled a punch, my guy. My friends, Paul never pulled a punch. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. That sound familiar? Right. Paul's whole point here is that we know what's right. We know what God has ordained as natural. We know what God has ordained as good. There is no confusion in that regard. And those who not only are wicked and evil will do these things, they will celebrate and approve of those who do them as well. Church, it is not our place to celebrate what God has called sin. We should be better than that. So that's Romans 1. We've got just a few more passages to get through here. My spine is really feeling it, Mr. Krabs. But I want to pop over to 1 Corinthians 6. Now, 1 Corinthians 6 is a passage that people do use decently. Do use decently often. But it's another one of contention, right? So we have right here, verse 6, or do you not know that wrongdoers will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither the sexually immoral, nor the idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who have sex with men, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor slanderers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. So this right here, they even have a footnote right here. The footnote in the, what is this translation? The English one, the NIV. NIV has a footnote. And their footnote is, the words men who have sex with men translate two Greek words that refer to the passive and active participants in homosexual acts. And so basically the NIV is just lobbing out, hey, guys, this is not about rape. Let's just not do that. All right, come on now. But what's funny is this passage, people don't usually say that rape is the reason for this, or is the reason for Paul's inclusion of homosexuality in this passage. They will go back to the pederasty argument, right? Like that's the big one here for 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9. And it all comes down to this word right here. It comes down to arsenokoitai. Now, arsenokoitai has been at the center of a lot of debates. Most people who come across it just simply think it's kind of a weird word and move on. They don't know that the level of debate that has gone into just this one word is immense, to say the least. I got something in my throat. I have no idea what it was. It was like a fuzz. It wasn't really like a fuzzy, but it was kind of fuzz. I don't know. Who frickin' cares? Anyways, so arsena koitai that oh my goodness, it's still there. Arsena koitai there. What does it mean? Well, literally, so you'll notice arsen, right? We're back to that word, arsen, meaning male. Then we also have koitai. Now, I don't know if y'all were paying attention necessarily, but we actually did see that word already. It was back in the Septuagint of Leviticus. Koitai just means bed, right? So right here you have man bed. Now, people will say that in other Greek passages, this refers to pederasty. Not, to be clear, not other Greek passages in the New Testament, other works in Greek literature. I would charge you, please find me one. Just one. I'm not asking you for a ton of examples to prove that even just the one that you bring is not just this, oh my goodness, outlier, right? To not prove that this is just some weird use of the word that isn't used in any other way. I'm literally just asking for one in which the word arsenokoitai is used to mean pederasty. If you can do that, I will happily concede the argument and not use 1 Corinthians 6, 9. Chapter 6, verse 9. If you can do that, I will happily not use this passage. Until then, there's nothing to suggest that. And furthermore, given the context of verse 9, right? Why is this translated the way it is, right? Men who have sex with men. It's because of the chapter in Leviticus, right? Leviticus 18, verse 22. It's because of that. Paul is leaning on the Septuagint of that, right? That's why he's using arsenokoitai, right? I don't think it's true, but there is this idea that Paul actually invents this word based on the Septuagint, right? Because if you go back to the Septuagint, here, let me just pull it up again. Closed. Where are you? There we are. Sure is that. Okay. If we come back to the Septuagint here, we will see so kaimeta arsenos u. Is that rough breathing? No. U. I can barely read that. Hang on. We're zooming in from my old eyes. Okay, there we go. U kumete se koitain, right? So we have arsenos u koimete se koitain. You have arsenos and, oh my goodness, for golf. You have arsenos and koitain right next to each other. So people theorize that Paul actually just took those two words, smashed them together, which he does do. I will give them credit. Paul does just ham-fist words together and goes, here you go, guys. Have fun trying to translate that. And it's like, thanks for hating me, Paul. Appreciate you, buddy. Because he will just straight up just make up a Greek word just out of nowhere. So people will say that he did that with arsenokoitai. I don't think that's the case because there are other Greek texts where it's used, but it's used the exact same way. It's used in the sense of men having sex with men, and they don't even speak of it negatively. They just speak it as something that some people do. But here, Paul is saying, don't do what the other people do. Right? Like he's talking about all of these different sexually immoral thing, or just generally immoral things that adults do, right? Don't be immoral or don't be sexually immoral. That's something that adults do. right? Don't be an idolater. That's something that adults do. Don't be an adulterer. That's something that adults do. Nor men who have sex with men. And all of a sudden, it's now something that is done with children. It's like, hang on, wait. But then thieves are adults, greedy adults, drunkard adults, slanderer adult, swindler adult, right? So it's like, why all of a sudden does it change from something that adults do to adults do to children, just for the one verse, just for the one word? Why does that change? And there's not ever really a good answer for that. I should say that the same word is used in 1 Timothy 1. It's basically used the same way. We could look at it. It would just be redundant, truthfully. If you don't believe me, go and look at it for yourself. You're just going to find the same thing, right? So arsenokoitai, in no way, it's been parroted in theologically liberal churches, which is different from politically liberal. It's different from politically liberal. Sometimes, actually, I would say most times, especially in today's culture, the Western culture specifically, politics and theology tend to line up, liberal and conservative, but they're not the same. That said, liberal churches tend to just parrot this out that, oh, arsenokoitai just means pederasty, right? So much so I had a liberal Christian ask me, all right, so he asked what's my opinion on homosexuality, and I said, well, I think the Bible is pretty explicit. Homosexuality is sinful. And I could feel it. This was online, and I could feel the disturbance in the forest so much that I text him. I can feel the disturbance in the forest coming. And then he said, what's your opinion on arsenokoitai? And I was like, that's what I knew was coming. I knew that was coming, because they have been told in the church, the liberal churches, right? Again, different from politically liberal, but the theological liberal churches, that arsenokoitai refers to pederasty, right? And so when we translate this word as homosexuals, it's a later translation. It's not actually what it means. It's actually more along the lines of pederasty. And I was like, that's actually not what the word means. And I broke down the Greek for him, and he was like, oh, okay, interesting. And he had not heard that before, right? So I actually went and broke down what the word meant, right? Man, bed, those who sleep in with men, right? Those who bed men, right? If you bed a woman, that means you sleep with her. This means those who bed men, right? Men who bed men. That's what the word means, literally. Man, bed. If you get into bed with a man, you are arsenokoitai. Well, I should clarify. If you are a man who gets into bed with a man, you are arsenokoitai, right? You are man who sleeps with man. And that's what Paul's saying not to do. And so what do we do with the claim that the word homosexuals is not in the Bible until the 20th century? That's actually true, right? This is a later addition, technically. The only reason it's a later addition is because the idea of a man sleeping with another man in a quote unquote committed relationship, right? As in they live together and they, establish somewhat of a home together, and they treat each other as lovers, for lack of a better word. That concept did not exist, right? When Paul is writing this, he's writing about people who just, like, men who sleep with men, right? They didn't build lives together, right? They didn't live together. They weren't in homes together. They weren't pretending like they were married, basically, right? That's the whole reason why that term didn't exist, because that concept didn't exist. That's an extremely novel concept. Men have never lived with men like that. So that's why the word gets added later, because they're realizing, oh, crud, we have to show that this term that Paul is using also addresses this issue, right, of men pretending to be married and living in houses with one another and building lives together, quote unquote. Right? That didn't exist in Paul's day, but it does today. And their whole idea in translating the word homosexuals is to say, hey, even if you were to just have a home together, that's still wrong, right? Like, let's say you didn't sleep with each other, to act like this is still wrong. And to get that point, we're going to look at our final two passages, which go hand in hand with one another. So we're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 19. And we're going to be reading the first, I believe it's 11 verses, 10 verses. First 10 verses. So Matthew chapter 19, starting in verse 1. Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished these sayings that he departed from Galilee and came to the region of Judea beyond the Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came to him, testing him, and saying to him, is it lawful for man to divorce his wife for any or for just any reason? Oh my goodness. And he answered them and said, or he answered and said to them, have you not read that he who made them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. They said to him, then why did Moses command to give a certificate of divorce and to put her away? He said to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted you to divorce your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another, commits adultery, and whoever marries her who is divorced commits adultery. His disciples said to him, if such is the case of the man with his wife, it is better not to marry. Which also, frickin' calm down, guys. Holy crap. The disciples just like, man, if you can't just leave your wife for no reason, it's better not to marry. Calm down. Something I will point out here, this is kind of a minor note, is that you can't commit adultery against somebody you're not married to. A lot of people have a lot of misgivings about divorce. Christ here provides the only stipulation as sexual immorality, and then states that whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. But you can't commit adultery against somebody you're not married to. I.e., even if you get that fun little piece of paper, it's not fun. But even if you get that little piece of paper that says, in the eyes of the state, you're no longer married, you're still married in the eyes of God. You still owe each other that. Because you can still commit adultery against the person who is divorced. Divorced in the eyes of the state? Yes. Divorced in the eyes of God? No. There's a difference. But that was a minor point. The main point here, oh my gracious, is this. Jesus reestablishes the sexual ethic as it was from the beginning, man and woman. For anybody who says that Jesus does not teach on homosexuality, he does. He just doesn't say the word. But he establishes the normative principle, good grief, that has been true since the beginning, man and woman. And the two, only man and woman, can become one flesh. Man and man cannot, men cannot, woman and woman cannot, women cannot. It has to be a man and a woman. That is Christ's point here. A man and a woman are one flesh once they are married. Actually, it'd be fun to teach like a class on marriage. What exactly is it? I'd have to be the one to teach that too, because Josh is a coward who won't propose to his girlfriend, you coward. Hang on. I don't have any more tissues. I ran out. Never mind. I'm just going to keep itching my nose. But yeah, so Jesus does teach on proper sexual ethics. His proper sexual ethic is one man, one woman for life. Don't separate. Don't divorce. Well, it doesn't say don't separate. I mean, it does say let man not separate. That's in the context of divorce. Right? Obviously, if you're in an abusive relationship, you may need to physically separate for a time, so that way the abuser can get better, get help, and get right with God, most importantly. If that can be done, then there absolutely can be reunification. But Christ is saying, don't divorce your wife, right? Don't leave her. You owe her a duty. She is your wife for life. Bars. It is one man, one woman. Only they can be one flesh. Right? Because think about it from the context of Genesis, right? Which is what Christ is appealing to. Woman is taken out of man. Right? Now, what exactly that means, you can have that conversation, but the principle is there. Woman is taken out of man. And therefore, only woman can restore man. Only woman can make man complete. Only one woman can make one man complete as well, such as it was from the beginning. Excuse me. One man, one woman. She must return to him. She as his side must return and complete him. She is to complement him. She is to be his help and his completion. Man is not complete without woman. Man cannot complete man. Woman cannot complete woman. For woman was not taken from woman, and man was not taken from man. Rather, woman was taken from man, and then she is returned to him. And they are complete, and they are one flesh. That is the sexual ethic that Christ is laying out right there. Not only is this bond inseparable and unbreakable, or at least it ought not to be broken. The only way it can is if you introduce somebody who is not one flesh with you, i.e., an adultery. Right? Because if you introduce another flesh into the two who are one, you break up that union. You destroy that union. Because now you are one flesh with somebody else. And you cannot be one flesh with multiple people. That doesn't make sense. So, the only way that you can break up the union is by introducing somebody else, another person with whom you are one flesh. One wife for life. One man, one woman. That's it. They complete one another, and they are meant to be together forever. That is Christ's sexual ethic. One man, one woman, nothing else. Anything outside of that is wrong. And it is not as the Edenic state was. Right? And the Edenic state obviously is the state in which humanity should exist. Right? The good state before everything went bad. So, all of this is well and good, right? We have officially buried homosexual acts in the Bible. They are not permitted. But what about, right? There's always the claim of, well, there's nothing wrong with homosexual desire, right? Homosexual acts, okay, sure, right? Sure, those can be wrong. But desire, that's not wrong. Right? You can't control that. You can't control desire. And I would disagree. You absolutely can. I'm wearing the shirt that says, capture every thought, right? Take every thought captive for Christ, right? That's Paul's statement. But you absolutely can. And Christ agrees with me. Actually, I should say I agree with Christ on this matter. We're going to be looking at, lastly here, Matthew chapter 5, verse 27. Well, that's where we're going to start. We're going to keep going. So, excuse me. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say unto you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. It is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. So what does that mean? Well, I feel like the first part is pretty self-explanatory, right? Don't lust after a woman. That is akin to adultery. And that's actually the key here. But really quick for the second part, for anybody who's not familiar with the Bible, Jesus is not actually advocating self-mutilation. He's using hyperbole, or he's using metaphor, right? So if something in your life is causing you to sin, you need to remove it, right? And that's, so, oh my graciousness. So those two in tandem are what debunks the idea that homosexual desire is fine. It's not. Just as lusting after a woman is sinful, so too is any sort of temptation to do sin, right? Or any sort of dwelling on, or any sort of desire. Let me put it that way. Any sort of desire to do sin, right? Because temptation in itself is not sinful. Right? Christ is tempted in the wilderness, yet Christ remains without sin. That's paraphrasing roughly Hebrews 4:15, right? We do not have a Savior who cannot empathize, but was tested in every way that we are, yet remains without sin. So temptation in itself is not a sin, but desire, that's where sin can come in, right? That's where sin comes in. When you have this desire for something that is wrong. In this case, Christ is specifically talking about sleeping with a woman you are not married to. Desiring that is wrong, right? And obviously, the act of sleeping with a woman you are not married to is wrong, right? That's committing adultery. Against whom? Well, you are the bride of Christ. Figure it out. So that is if you're not married, right? If you're married, then obviously you're committing adultery against your wife. But even if you are not married, you are still the bride of Christ. Not hard then to figure out who you're committing adultery against. That said, Christ's point here is that desire is akin to action. Right now, there's obviously some difference, right? Lust, having a moment of lust, is not the same as actually going and sleeping with a woman. They are different, just in their ontological status. And desire giving way to the sin, I would say, is probably, like, in the grand scheme of things, worse, because it shows that not only have you had the desire, you now go the step further, right? You act on that desire. So now, not only have you sinned, but you are acting further in your sin. Wow, man, what is it tonight? Ay vey. But anyways, more to the point here, Christ tells you that you can control your desires. That's what this is. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. Right? If your desire is leading you towards sin, remove it. How do you do that? You do that through prayer. You do that through petition. You do that through supplication. You make your requests known to God. I find it strange that people state that you can't just pray the gay away. It's like, okay, sure, right? If you pray, there's no guarantee that all your temptations are immediately going to disappear. But you can certainly pray for God to remove that desire. And it's worked, right? There are countless testimonies out there of people who say, I did this and it worked. It worked. I don't suffer from those desires anymore. I don't have those desires anymore. Right? So there is some degree by which it can work. You just have to be willing. You have to be willing to suffer. Right? 1 Corinthians 10 tells us that God provides us a way out. That God gives us a way out if we are willing to take it. The problem is not many of us are willing. So you can do this. You can remove that desire. You just have to be willing to stick it out and actually freaking do it. That's what I got for tonight. So to answer the question from the top, is the Bible gay? No. And neither should you be. Come to Christ. Understand that, yes, he loves you. And that's exactly why he wants you to change. Right? In the sense of how our modern culture means it, love is not love. Affirming somebody in their sin is only going to destroy them further. It's only going to wound them further. Don't just affirm people. All that does is destroy them. All that does is wound them. And all that means is you are guiding them by the hand to hell. Please, please, don't just affirm them. That's not what they need from you. They don't need affirmation. They get that from the world. They come to you to hear the truth of the gospel. The truth of the gospel is, yes, how you are living is wrong, but the good news is it is not the end. There is true freedom from these difficulties you have. I like how Andrew Klavan puts it when he talks about Pride Month, right? Andrew Klavan has a gay son. Or I should say a son who struggles with homosexuality. I like how he puts it, right? He said, regardless of how gay you are, no one is proud to be gay. Right? No one is proud of that. No one's actually proud of that. People will say they are. People will be like, I'm gay and I'm proud of that. Anybody who's actually proud of something doesn't have to tell you they are. You already know. You already can see it in their life. Nobody's proud of their sin. Not actually. They just scream it. So that way they don't have to confront it. They don't have to face reality. The good news is Christ did not call you to be proud of anything. He calls you to repentance, to be humble, to be loved. Truly, actually loved, which does not mean affirmation. It means coming to know the one who made you in the way that he made you, in the desires that he has for you, which are good. Please, please don't just wallow in the shame and sadness that you feel. There is true and genuine freedom. It's not going to be found in your desires. It's not going to be found in your lusts. It's not going to be found in your desires. It is going to be found in the only true source of love, the one who is love, Jesus Christ. Please come to him. If you made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate you watching. We really appreciate you tuning in. We hope that this was helpful and informative for you. We hope that this was something that you can chew on. Maybe this was a good review for you. Maybe this is the first time you've been exposed to this kind of argumentation. Maybe this is the first time you've read these passages. Keep searching. Don't just take my word for it. Go out, do the research yourself. Make sure what I'm telling you is accurate. Be a Berean. If you have questions, we would love to hear them in the comments. While you're down in the comments, please feel free to like and subscribe if this is something you're interested in. And you can always hit the notification bell to be notified when you go live. If you want to have more direct conversations than just the comments section, because Josh and I can't always respond to that, you can go ahead and join our Discord. Link is in the description below, and we welcome people of any faith background. You can be an atheist. We have some of those in the chat. You can be a Jew. We have one of those in the chat, right? You can be Muslim, Hindu. You can be of the Baha'i faith. I don't care what you are. The point is to have good, genuine conversation that's healthy and that's Christ-centered. So if that sounds interesting to you, great. We'd love to get to know you. We'd love to have these conversations with you. With all that said, we really do appreciate you watching, and God willing, we will see you in the next video. Peace.
Yeah. Counseling session. Weighing every word like gold. From the manger to the throne, same person, not a switch, not a mask, that's certain. One Lord, one face, one name, Son of God, Son of Man, unchanged. Perfect in divinity, say that. Perfect in humanity, play back. True God, true man, one Christ, not a myth, not half, full life, begotten for ages. Blazing, born in time from a virgin, amazing, like us in all things. That's flesh, sin apart though, clean breath, same person they followed in Galilee. Same person who spoke in eternity. Not a blend, not a phase, not parts. One hypostasis, one heart. Two natures, one Christ, one Lord. Unmixed, unchanged in the light of His glory. Yeah, undivided, unseparated. Hold tight. One person, one story. Two natures, one Christ. Say it. God and man in a holy harmony. What He is, what He became, still the same through the ages of ages. Amen. They try to pull Him apart, we won't. Make Him only a prophet, He don't fit inside those boxes you draw. He's the word that fulfills every law. Not confused like colors that smear, not split like friends disappear. Distinct what is His as a man, and what is His as I am. He got hungry, He slept, He wept, yet the universe held as He stepped. He was nailed, He bled, He died, yet the author of life still alive. So we speak what the elders confess. From the west and the east, one faith, one breath. Guard the mystery, keep that flame. Same Jesus, yesterday, today. Two natures, one Christ, one Lord. Unmixed, unchanged in the light of His glory. Yeah, undivided, unseparated. Yeah, one person, one story. Two natures, one Christ. Say King, God and man in a holy harmony. What He is, what He became, still the same. Oh yeah, through the ages of ages. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Not another savior on the shelf. He bridges God to us to Himself. If He ain't God, we're still in chains. If He ain't man, He can't feel our pain. So I rest in the creed they wrote, every careful phrase, every note. Hold that line, don't twist, don't drift. In this one Lord, all things fit. Two natures, one Christ, one